Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 25th day of May, 2022. It is Wednesday of the 6th week of Easter. It is also 7 months until Christmas Day. So just marking calendars as we do. Today is graduation day for our 8th graders at the Franciscan School. So wearing ceremonial baseball cap today. And today also we are remembering those who have suffered through the tragedy at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Again, another senseless tragedy brought about by broken lives, unfortunately, whose brokenness does not seem to be able to be maybe noticed or healed, and that it unfortunately unravels into more brokenness into other people's lives. In understanding this on today, the graduation day, and in this Easter season may be very difficult for some, but it can not be for those of us who dare to believe. The first reading is just Paul going on and on and on about helping the Athenians learn what it means to be a part of this new Christian movement, and that is all very good and well. And he is good at trying to help them be able to notice that perhaps they have been recognizing this God of Israel all of their lives or all of their history and just never putting a name to it, and now they can through Paul's help. And that is, again, all good and well. People become believers, and some follow him, continue to follow him. The thing always to note is that Paul is journeying to his own death. Whether or not he actually realizes that, he probably does, because what he is saying and doing, he's also experiencing many pains and punishments because of it. So it is an unpopular message he is giving to many people, and it will eventually result in his death in Rome, to which, Acts of the Apostles leads us. To be able to be journeying, to one's, own death might seem like such an odd and weird and ridiculous and absurd kind of thing for any human being to consider. And yet, there is always this understanding that, our lives journey in a direction that the world understands in one way, but we as believers understand in another way. Which is why today's gospel, perhaps, is important for all the things that we here on the campus of St. Francis are remembering and celebrating. Not just the students and the teachers in Texas, but also our faculty here at a similar elementary school in Raleigh, North Carolina, and our 8th graders who will be graduating. Jesus continues to speak about the Spirit of truth who enlightens, the Spirit of truth who tells us what we need to hear, who tells us what we need to hear because it's what God needs us to hear. The Spirit who guides us, through all things in life, not just the happiness and the wonders and the beauty, and when everything is all fine and harmonious and well, but especially in the midst of our tragedies and our mournings and our sorrows. To attend to the Spirit's voice in those times may be most difficult because we only want to listen to the voice of the world. We only want to listen to the voice of despair and hopelessness and pain and anxiety and fear. Those things will never help us, even though they may seem to offer some kind of comfort, even though they seem to be the best thing for us to hear. We think at times they do not offer anything that allows us to move forward, in life. Paul moves forward in his mission and his ministry of spreading the gospel, knowing that it is unpopular, knowing that it will end up, perhaps, in him no longer being. But he does so because he trusts that this is what people need to hear. He trusts that the Spirit is motivating him to speak words of truth that people need to hear, even if they are resistant, reluctant, and afraid to hear them. For those of us who experience tragedies in our lives, who experience woe in our lives, who experience the despair and the sorrow that this life can bring, we know to turn to God, and not to turn to God as some cuddly teddy bear who makes everything well and who makes everything right, but a God who gives us the strength and support to be able to see through the pain and the anxiety and the suffering, to that life which only God can give, to that hope which only rests in God, to that peace, which helps our lives to become stable, and to become not just stable, but allows us to navigate through everything that we experience. Again, in being able to listen to that voice of the Spirit, we may be able to find ways that help to resolve and heal this world's hurt and brokenness. Because if we do not listen to if we don't listen to the Spirit, then the world's hurt and brokenness will always get the upper hand, continue to dismantle what God has tried to create, and make us, into people again who fall into hopelessness from which there is no escape. For us to be a people of Easter, for us to recognize the power of Easter, is always to recognize the fact that it is God who sees us through both the good and the bad in our lives, a God who helps to give us strength, not just to endure things, but to be able to persevere, to find hope, to find meaning, to find life in all that we experience, because we find that our hope, our meaning, and our life reside always with God, with the risen Christ, with one who makes everything new again and again. A blessed Easter, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord continue to give you his peace.